This is Hustle and Pro with Kelly Walker. Join Kelly as she talks sports with players, coaches, organizers, and entrepreneurs from Pee Wee League to Pro. Now here's your host, Kelly Walker.
We talk plenty about pro sports and even high school athletes in sports here on Hustle and Pro, but we're diving into college sports again today and telling you about a chance to see some college basketball here in Frisco soon. Our guest, Keisha Dunlap, is here to help. Welcome to Hustle and Pro, Keisha.
Thank you, Kelly. Excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming. So let's learn about you, and then we'll get into some of the Conference USA action that's coming up. So tell me who you would say is your all-time favorite athlete.
Ooh, that's easy. Michael Jordan. Easy peasy.
Would you say then, what's your favorite sport to watch?
Probably along the same lines. We'll keep the theme going, basketball.
Okay.
Grew up playing a lot of different sports. My dad played college basketball. My brother played basketball in high school. So that's been a big sport in our family.
Then what's your favorite sport to do yourself or to play?
I really liked playing volleyball when I was in high school. That was probably my favorite sport to play. Actually, when I went to college, on a track scholarship, so ended up throwing the hammer in college. But my roommates were volleyball players, and they're still some of my very best friends to this day. So I really learned to love the game of volleyball when I was playing it and then supporting my roommates and the volleyball team in college.
So you played volleyball in high school, then ended up playing track and field, a field event, right? In college, but then your roommates were volleyball players, so you probably were at those games and were kind of a pseudo-volleyball teammate then.
I was. It kind of came full circle for me because that was always my favorite sport. Wasn't the sport I was best at, but really just I like the action, the fast-paced action of volleyball. And then I just so happened to live right across the hall from volleyball players. And like I said, they became really my group of friends in college, and still to this day, they're my college friends.
So was this throwing the hammer and getting a scholarship for that, was this sort of a random thing, or is that something you excelled at all through high school too?
I really didn't start with track until my sophomore year in high school. So I played everything growing up. The Saturday morning soccer where you got the donuts and the orange juice after the games. Went through that stage. Played slow pitch softball. But when I got to high school, it was fast pitch softball. And I think I got a little scared just because I had never played it before. So I didn't play anything in that spring of my freshman year in high school. And I was so bored. I was just so used to always having, once one sport was done, I was going right to the next one. So then after basketball season, my freshman year in high school, I didn't do anything in the spring and went about crazy. So my sophomore year, one of my friends that played basketball said, why don't you just at least go out for the track team? Just throw the shot put in the discus just so you're doing something. I was like, oh, okay, I'll try it.
You never know.
Never.
Track and field is one of those things that you might have that skill and you didn't really know it.
I had no idea.
Because you don't play it as a young child usually.
No, not at all. So ended up being pretty successful in the first year that I did it, in the second year that I did it. And then it was really important for me. I really wanted to play sports in college. And I kind of had to look at myself and say, okay, what's going to give me the best opportunity to play sports in college? And it was track and field. So I really focused on that my senior year in high school.
So growing up, were you a family that had that, hope and goal that you played in college, like when you were little?
Yeah, not really as a family. It was probably more so personal.
Okay.
Again, my brother played in high school, and he just made the decision. He probably could have gone maybe to a small school or done something in college with sports, but he chose to go to a major university and live that normal college student experience. But I didn't want to do that. I really, really wanted to keep sports as a part of my life. So it was important really for me, not so much for my family, but it was more of a personal goal.
And then, so that normal college experience you talked about, we talk to people sometimes when they get there, they realize, I want that, and I've signed on to be an athlete.
Yeah.
And they realize when you've signed on to be an athlete at many schools, it's your full-time life.
Absolutely.
Did you feel that? And you obviously still liked it because you kept with it.
Yeah. I never really felt that. Like I said, I think it was a testament in my freshman year in high school when I didn't have a sport to compete in. I didn't know what to do with myself. I think I was so used to the organization of being in a sport and having a time schedule and just making sure that I was going to practice and then doing my homework and all
Like
those
that's
things.
what you liked about it.
Yeah, I did. I liked the structure. I'm a very structured person, so I really think I like that structure. So for me, in college, especially with a sport like track and field, you essentially, with an indoor season and an outdoor season, you start after Labor Day, so in September, and you essentially go all the way through our outdoor track championship is one of our very last championships of the year in May.
Oh, wow.
So you go all year. So I never really had a time to be a regular college student.
Right.
And in fact, if we did get a week off or time off, I was looking around going, okay, what do? I don't have study tables. I don't have practice. Like, I think I can get in too much trouble here without having a sport.
Right. So it was a good experience for you then.
Absolutely.
Okay, we haven't talked about where you went to college. Eastern Illinois?
Yeah.
Okay, when I hear that, here in Dallas, so I think Tony Romo,
There
right?
you go. Absolutely.
So I looked it up to double check. There's also some others, right?
Yes.
Who else do you use at the top of your list?
Probably the most popular coming off the heels of the Super Bowl is Jimmy Garoppolo.
I know. I didn't know that, so I researched to interview you.
Yeah. No, I didn't cross over with Jimmy. I'm a little older than him, but Tony and I actually crossed over for a couple of years. So I knew Tony. I knew Tony in college.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And, he came to Dallas to play for the Cowboys pretty soon after college, and I was here pretty soon after college, and we ran into each other maybe once or twice, just around at a different event, and we would sit and, have a conversation, and then really, I'll throw the story in real quick, I saw him probably on his last maybe year or two of playing, and he's a big sports fan and he loved going to SMU basketball games, and I had gone to an SMU basketball game and saw him in a parking garage, and I was like, I'm probably never going to see Tony again just on the street. I need to say hello.
Yeah. So
I yelled, Tony, it's Keisha, Eastern Illinois, and he was so excited to see me, and it felt really good only because people always know, they always hear me say Eastern Illinois and they think of Tony here in Dallas.
Yep.
And I always
Can't help it.
yeah, and I always say, because in college he was the nicest guy, and I say he's a really good guy, and you never know how fame affects people. So I had been saying that for so long. So for us to have that interaction, and we walked into the arena together, and he was asking me about all of our mutual friends and asking me what I was doing. It was just such a genuine conversation that it felt good that I was saying that he was such a good guy.
Yeah.
But really,
it validated that.
Yeah, it did. It did.
That's awesome. I'm glad too, because I love him.
Yeah,
I don't know him by any means, but I love him. Okay, so then you quickly went from being a student athlete to then maybe as a graduate student coaching, and never really looked back. You've had a long career in sports, right? Have you ever done anything else? I mean, it feels like that's your life, right?
Never done anything else. Actually, when anybody asks me, what would you do if you weren't working in sports? And I kind of get a panic attack because I don't know what I would do because it's been such a part of my life for my whole professional career. As you said, I coached for a year. I knew coaching probably wasn't going to be long-term, but finished that out for a year to finish my coursework for my master's degree, and then started working on the administration side of athletics, and that's where I've landed.
So you were at University of Arkansas, right? And let's see, I wrote that NCAA D1 Competition Oversight Committee right now. And for how long have you been with Conference USA? A long time, right?
It'll be 16 years in September.
16
so
years.
I just celebrated the 15-year, got a little placard on my name in the office.
Well, congrats.
Yes, thank you.
So you're the Senior Associate Commissioner, it's a mouthful, and the COO.
Yes.
Okay, so what I need to know, I was surprised when I first started seeing you guys in town, covering sports for Lifestyle Frisco. I was surprised when I learned that a conference as big as you guys was local here, and celebrating 25 years. I don't know if you've been here all that 25 years.
No.
Not you personally, but the conference. So tell me just kind of background-wise, what is Conference USA?
Yeah, so Conference USA came to the Metroplex really at the time I started working for them. So we've been here almost 16 years. Our offices used to headquarter in Chicago. So I'm sure you've heard, obviously, working in sports and talking to a lot of different college athletics folks that there's been a lot of realignment meaning a lot of institutions have been shifting what conferences they belong to. So because of some realignment, it really didn't make sense for the headquarters to sit in Chicago anymore. It really made more sense to get it a little bit more centrally located. And I use that term very loosely because if you look at our footprint in Conference USA right now, we span from El Paso, Texas, all the way to Huntington, West Virginia, all the way down to Miami, Florida, with our 14 institutions.
But still, not Chicago, Illinois.
Exactly, not north.
Yeah.
So Dallas really does make sense. We have 4 institutions in the state of Texas, so it makes sense for us to be here. And a lot of people probably don't know, but Dallas is really a hotbed for not only college athletics, but athletics. Obviously, we have all of our pro teams here, but from a college athletics standpoint, the Big 12 office is here, the CFP, the College Football Playoff, is here, Lone Star Conference is here, Southland Conference is here. I mean, there's a lot of different sport entities that call the Metroplex home.
That is a lot.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people realize that, but it's funny because we get a lot of traffic in our office from either interns, like the NCAA has a great internship program, and they give all of their interns the ability to make one professional development trip a year. And we get so many people coming to Dallas because they can come here and they can go to 3-4 different conference offices, different athletic departments.
They can
CFP,
see a lot.
Yeah, National Football Foundation is here. I mean, there's so many different organizations here, so we get a lot of traffic because of that.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
See, I'm learning. So let's talk about the schools that make up Conference USA. You mentioned some of the states. So can you rattle them all off? 14 schools.
I can. I usually go west to east to rattle off the schools.
Yep.
So let's see if I hit them. So we've got UTEP in El Paso, obviously North Texas in Denton, Houston, Rice, which is in Houston, Rice University, UTSA in San Antonio. Then we've got La Tech in Ruston, Southern Miss in Hattiesburg, UAB in Birmingham. And I'm going to go up north a little bit and go to Middle Tennessee in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and Western Kentucky in Bowling Green. Then we've got Marshall in Huntington, West Virginia, Old Dominion in Norfolk, Virginia, Charlotte in North Carolina, and then our Florida schools, so Florida Atlantic and FIU in Boca in Miami.
Well done.
Did I hit them?
You got them all.
Okay, I got to do the mental map in my head and go, west to east. That's how I usually can do it.
That was great. So 4 Texas schools. It's a lot of activity. So that's maybe one reason why you guys do host tournaments like the upcoming, I call it Hoops at the Star. I know there's a formal name for it.
I love that you use that.
I do. I like that. It's easy to remember.
Yeah,
and when I try to go look up the brackets or whatever, it's easy to find because you do conferenceusa.com, Hoops at the Star.
Yep. Good plug. Good job, Kelly.
Yes, so that's coming up. I kind of think of it as like the spring break tournament, but it's coming up March 11th through 14th, so maybe that's part of why you guys choose Frisco, because you're probably likely to get some local draw from all those Texas schools. But tell me just in general about that tournament and what it looks like. What's the format?
Yeah, this will be our 3rd year here in Frisco, and appreciate you using our tag of Hoops at the Star. It's really been a great event for us. Again, with 4 teams in Texas, our membership was really looking for a neutral site to host our basketball championship. And obviously, we don't have a school in Frisco. Frisco is a neutral site. Obviously, Denton is a few miles up the road, but really it's North Texas doesn't play here. So it's really been able to give us a neutral site location. In Frisco, I will say just the community, the city has done such a phenomenal job of dubbing themselves, I believe, a Sports City USA and bringing so many different athletic events here and being represented by so many different organizations, and from professional to college. I know they do, a big college baseball tournament, at the Rough Riders facility. So they just have done such a great job, I think, of really bringing in a lot of different sport events, that this has just really been a great location for us.
Speaking of, the Frisco Classic, it'll be right before you guys.
Right before us.
It hits at the end of February.
Yep.
And I know that it's a big part of economic development here in Frisco. So what do you know about how much having your tournament here does for the city.
Yeah, well, we work hand in hand with Visit Frisco. They've got great folks over there. But really, our 4-day tournament, you have to think, we've got 24 teams. So our top 12 men's and women's basketball teams qualify. With those teams come their fans. With those teams come their bands. Bands make up, there's 30 different band members.
With band parents.
There's 30 band members. With those bands come cheer. And here goes another 12. Some of them add a dance team on. So we're talking about a lot of traffic moving in to Frisco really over the course of probably 6 days for our tournament, because obviously teams are going to come early because we have a practice day and all that. Some estimates have said that our tournament will generate over $4 million in direct spending and economic impact to the community of Frisco. That's a huge number when you think about it. I was sent another statistic that over 1,400 jobs will be supported because of our basketball championship here. So, that's just a testament of how important it is for cities and communities to embrace events like that and support them and go out and purchase tickets and show up in the stands and be there to support these events.
And be nice to the people and they're here and you're sitting in restaurants with these people coming in because you want them, and like the football bowl games we get, you want them to enjoy their stay here.
Yeah, it's all about them having a great experience. That's what it's all about.
It all props up our
city. They all need a place to stay. They all need something to eat. So they're frequenting all these different establishments in the community. And if they have a good time, they're going to go back and they're going to say, hey, Conference USA basketball tournament is in Frisco again. You guys didn't go last year. We had such a great time. You should go this year. And that's what we're looking for.
Yes, and one thing I learned about this tournament when it was here last year, I'm not sure if we've mentioned that it's at the Star.
It's at
the Ford Center.
Ford Center at the Star.
That the winner of the men's and the women's, they get a bid to the NCAA tournament, yes?
So March Madness, everybody knows what that is.
Yeah.
So if you're even not super familiar with how it all works out, everybody knows what March Madness means. For me, again, you heard me say basketball is my favorite sport. Michael Jordan is my favorite athlete. To me, there's no better time than March Madness because that's the true story of like the underdog can prevail. How fun is it to see a Loyola Chicago advance to the Final Four and those stories that come with that. So to me, that's such a great time. And our tournament, we as a conference, we get an automatic bid for both our men's and our women's teams into the NCAA tournament. So the winner, the teams that win that Saturday 4:30 championship final for the women and 7:30 championship final for the men, those winners get an automatic ticket into the NCAA championship, which is really cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And then you guys get to cheer those teams on throughout the brackets and hope that they have a good showing.
We do.
That's so exciting. Okay, so what else does anybody in Frisco need to know? I know that there's some like family-friendly things happening and that
Fan
turf,
Fest.
yes, Fan Fest.
Yes.
I couldn't think of the word turf. In front of the Star, so you can take your kids out there and do all those kinds of activities. There's games and maybe music and things. Is that right?
Yep,
I'm trying to remember back from last year.
So it's called Tostitas Plaza, and that's the turf outside of Ford Center. We hold a Fan Fest in conjunction with our championship. So every game day, we'll have inflatables and baskets and just all set up a sponsor village, have an opportunity for people to try things and get free stuff. It's really a great opportunity to bring your family out, especially since it's spring break. I know a lot of times people are trying to find things for their family to do when they're not in school. Yeah. So, year one, it wasn't on spring break, and I think we had kind of a different approach to it, but now the last 2 years, it's spring break week, and I really think we can capitalize off of that, and we have been able to capitalize off that because, again, people are trying to find something for their kids to do. Bring them out to Ford Center and let them play in the Fan Fest, and then come on inside and watch some great basketball.
Yeah.
So, it's really
fun.
exciting.
It's fun to go in there because you have 2 courts going, and you can. We strategically sat kind of in the middle so you can sort of see the both. Different, how different ones are going.
That was a really interesting, and I give all credit to our commissioner for coming up with that idea, because we were in a different city on a site visit, just looking at different places to potentially have our tournament. And, one of the city officials said, I wish we could get more traffic into our football arena. It was just kind of an offhand comment. Mm-hmm. And my commissioner, Judy McLeod, was like, well, we'll just play both tournaments in there, separated by a curtain, have 2 courts going on at the same time. You can watch both games at the same time, and we'll do it. And everybody was like, oh, ha, 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 funny, funny, funny. And then I was kind of thinking, I was like, that's really not a bad idea. And then that's really where it birthed. And
makes sense.
we just kept kind of talking about it and thinking about it. And then when Frisco came to play, we were looking at, obviously, at Ford Center and building a facility, building an arena, basically with a court. I mean, we bring everything in: court, baskets, seating, shot clocks, everything we build and we bring it in. And then we looked at another facility because, again, what's unique about our tournament is that we host both our men's and our women's at the same time, which means we either need more days to get more games in or we need more facilities to get more games in. So instead of extending our tournament to like an 8-9 day tournament to get all these games in, we chose to keep it tight under 4 days, but we need a secondary facility. So we looked at some facilities around the area, and then that idea kind of came back. Well, I mean, Ford Center is big enough. What if we built it? What if we built 2?
Right.
So it's really unique, and I will say I'm confident saying that we're the only conference that conducts our championship in this way. And it was scary. Year 1 was scary because we put all of our thought, all of our resources into making sure that we could have 2 games going on with no noise issues, with no issues, building 2 courts.
The logistical.
Yeah. So until you build that fully, which is not cheap, you don't really know. So we didn't have really a dry run. So I will never forget that when that first game tipped off, we were like, okay, good. But then the second, we stagger our game times a little bit.
Right.
So when that second game tipped off 30 minutes later, I think we were all just kind of standing there holding our collective breaths and
hoping it all was okay.
And it ended up being great.
It
And I think the best comment is after in year 1, because we play on 2 different courts for the first round and then the quarterfinals. And then when we get down to 4 men's and women's teams, we combine on 1 court. And it was like magic because in the middle of the night on Thursday night, we had them totally unload that other court. So when people showed up on Friday morning for the semifinals, the second court was totally gone.
Back to one stage.
Yeah, and it was just one
stage.
court. And I think we had a couple people comment and say, something's kind of missing, not having the other game going on. And it just made for a different atmosphere. And we hear a lot. It really gives a championship atmosphere, kind of an NCAA championship atmosphere, which is great, and it preps those teams that win as they head into first rounds of the NCAA event. So,
well, it's fantastic. So my whole family enjoyed it because of the 2 different courts and activities. So we will be back again this spring break. So awesome. Well, it's nice talking to you and learning a little about your story and your career in sports and bringing the Conference USA tournament here to Frisco. So thank you for your time today.
No problem. Thank you for having me, Kelly.